Dr. Hae Kim stood at the window of the Mars research station, looking out at the endless red sand dunes. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Martian landscape. She had been on Mars for 3 years now, but the view still took her breath away every morning. She picked up her cup of hot tea and checked the morning readings on her tablet. Something unusual caught her eye. The sand dune patterns had changed overnight, but there was no wind recorded in the weather logs. "That's strange," she said softly, zooming in on the images. The wavy lines in the sand looked almost like the gentle ripples you might see on a calm lake back on Earth. Hae put down her tea and called her friend and colleague. "Jae-ho, can you come look at this? There's something different about the dunes today." Dr. Jae-ho Park walked over from his workstation. He was a tall man with kind eyes and always wore his lucky blue sweater, even though the station was temperature controlled. "What did you find?" They both looked at the screen, then out the window at the real dunes. The patterns were still changing, ever so slowly, like watching grass grow. "Let's check the sensor readings," Jae-ho suggested, pulling up another screen. His eyes widened. "Hae, look at these electromagnetic readings. They're pulsing." Hae leaned closer. The graph showed steady waves, rising and falling in a rhythm that reminded her of breathing. "It's almost like the dunes are alive," she whispered. They spent the next few hours setting up more sensors and cameras around the nearest dune. The sun climbed higher in the pink Martian sky as they worked. Other team members joined them, equally fascinated by the discovery. "The pattern repeats every 6 minutes and 12 seconds, Hae noted, checking her data. "Exactly the same each time. Natural phenomena don't usually work that way." As the day went on, the team noticed something else. Everyone who spent time near the dunes reported feeling unusually calm and peaceful. Some said they could hear a soft humming, though the sound sensors picked up nothing. Late in the afternoon, Hae decided to try something. She set up a small electromagnetic pulse generator, matching the frequency they had recorded from the dunes. As soon as she turned it on, the sand patterns changed more quickly. "Jae-ho," she called excitedly. "Come quickly. It's responding to our signal." The entire research team gathered to watch. The sand moved in new patterns now, forming shapes that looked almost like writing. Though in no language they knew, the humming grew stronger, and Hae felt a gentle warmth in her mind, like the feeling just before falling asleep. "Whatever this is," she said to her colleagues, "I don't think we're dealing with simple sand dunes anymore. I think something down there is trying to talk to us." That night, as the team sent their initial report back to Earth, Hae stayed late at the observation window. The Martian moons cast silver light on the dunes, which still moved in their slow dance. She thought about all the years humans had spent studying Mars, never knowing that something wonderful might have been sleeping under the sand all along. As she finally headed to her quarters for the night, she heard the humming again. This time, it sounded almost like a lullaby. She smiled, knowing that tomorrow would bring new discoveries. Mars, it seemed, still had many secrets to share. For the first time since arriving on Mars, Hae dreamed of sand that moved like water and songs that could only be felt, not heard. Somewhere in the depths of her sleep, she thought she heard a voice, ancient and kind, whispering, "Welcome, sky travelers. We have been waiting for you." The next morning, Dr. Jae-Lee joined the research team at the Mars station. She was the best xenobiologist in the space program, and Earth Control had sent her as soon as they received the report about the moving sand dunes. "The patterns are even clearer today," Hae told Yoonji as they walked to the observation room. Through the thick windows, they could see the sand shifting in beautiful spiral patterns. The morning sunlight made the sand sparkle like diamonds. Yoonji pressed her hand against the window. "The humming. I can feel it through the glass," she said quietly. "It's like a song without words." The team had set up more equipment overnight. Jae-ho showed them the newest readings on his screen. "The electromagnetic pulses are stronger now. They seem to respond when we're near the windows, almost like they know we're watching. Hae-Newell finished his sentence. Yoonji sat down and closed her eyes. She had studied many strange things in space, but this was different. I think, she said slowly, we should try to answer their song. They modified their equipment to send out gentle pulses that matched the rhythm from the dunes. At first, nothing changed. Then, slowly, the sand began to rise. It moved like a gentle wave, forming a tall column that reached toward the sky. As it rose, crystals within the sand caught the sunlight, sending rainbow colors dancing across the station walls. The humming grew stronger, and everyone in the room felt a warm, peaceful feeling in their minds. Look, Hae-Newell pointed at the sand column. Inside it, they could see something moving. It looked like flowing water made of light, swirling in patterns that reminded them of the northern lights on Earth. Yoonji stepped closer to the window. Her eyes were half closed, and she swayed slightly as if listening to music only she could hear. They're trying to show us something, she whispered. I can almost see. Suddenly, her eyes opened wide. Oh, she breathed. Oh, they're beautiful. The others watched in amazement as Yoonji raised her hand. Outside, the column of sand moved in the same way, like a mirror image. They're sharing their dreams with us, she said softly. They've been sleeping here for so long, waiting for someone to wake them up. Through the glass, the sand began to form shapes, stars, planets, and strange buildings that looked like they were made of light. Each image flowed into the next like a gentle stream of memories. Hae-Newell felt tears in her eyes, though she wasn't sad. The images filled her with a deep sense of peace and wonder. They're showing us their history, she said. Jai-Ho was recording everything with 3 different cameras. Earth Control won't believe this, he said, his voice full of awe. The sand entity continued its dance, each movement telling part of its story. Through their shared connection, Yoonji learned that these beings had lived on Mars long ago, when the planet still had oceans. When the water vanished, they didn't die. They simply went to sleep, becoming one with the sand. As the sun began to set, the sand slowly returned to the dunes, but the humming remained. It felt warmer now, more familiar, like the purring of a friendly cat. They want to teach us, Yoonji told the others. They say they have so much to share if we're willing to learn. That night, the whole team dreamed of ancient Mars, of oceans under 2 moons, and of beings made of light and crystal who danced among the stars. In their dreams, these beings had a name for themselves. They were the Dream Keepers, and they had been waiting a very long time to meet their new neighbors. Security Officer Tae-Yang Choi didn't believe in dreams. He believed in facts, numbers, and clear rules. But now, standing next to communications specialist Myra Song at the edge of the sand dunes, he had to admit that something extraordinary was happening. The being wants us to call it Moray, Myra said, checking her translation notes. She had spent the last 3 days working with Dr. Yoonji to understand the sand entity's way of speaking. It means sand in our language. But they chose it because they like how it sounds. Tae-Yang watched the sand move in gentle waves. The morning sun made the crystal pieces in the sand shine like stars. How can you be sure they're friendly? He asked. As head of security, he had to think about everyone's safety. Myra smiled. Watch this, she said. She took out a small device that made soft, musical tones. As she played it, the sand began to dance, forming shapes that looked like flowers blooming. Moray says they've been protecting Mars for thousands of years, Myra explained. They keep the planet's core warm with their energy. Without them, Mars would have become completely cold inside. As they talked, more sand began to move nearby. A second column rose up, then a third. The humming grew stronger, but it wasn't scary. It felt warm and welcoming, like coming home after a long trip. They want to share something with us, Myra said excitedly. Dr. Yoonji taught me how to listen properly. Would you like to try? Tae-Yang hesitated, but then nodded. He sat down on the smooth rock Mireille pointed to and closed his eyes. At first, he felt silly, but then the humming changed. It became clearer, like it was inside his head. Suddenly, he could see things. He saw Mars as it was long ago, with blue oceans and white clouds. He saw the moray, beautiful beings made of crystal and light, swimming through the sky like whales in the sea. They traveled between the stars, helping planets stay alive with their special energy. "They're showing us their memories," Mireille whispered. "They're telling us why they stayed here." In their shared vision, they saw how Mars began to change. The oceans dried up, and the air grew thin. But the moray didn't leave. Instead, they went deep into the sand, using their energy to keep Mars' heart beating, waiting for the day when someone would come to help bring the planet back to life. When Tae-Yang opened his eyes, they were wet with tears. Mireille handed him a tissue, smiling kindly. "Now you understand," she said. "They're not just aliens. They're the guardians of Mars." Over the next few days, more moray woke up. Each one had different memories to share. They showed Tae-Yang and Mireille amazing things. Cities made of crystal that floated in the air, gardens that grew under the light of 2 moons, and machines that worked on dreams instead of electricity. "We need to tell Earth Control about this," Tae-Yang said one evening, watching the sunset paint the sand dunes orange and pink. "But I don't know if they'll believe us." Mireille touched the warm sand gently. "They'll believe," she said. "The moray have waited all this time to help us. They can wait a little longer for everyone to understand." That night, as the research station slept, the sand dunes glowed softly under the starlight. The moray sang their ancient songs, and even Tae-Yang, who had never remembered his dreams before, dreamed of flying through crystal cities under a young Mars blue sky. Dr. Sang-Min Kang sat in his laboratory, surrounded by screens showing data from the moray. As the team's leading physicist, he had spent the past week studying the strange energy that flowed from the sand beings. Every new discovery made his eyes grow wider with wonder. "Look at this," he said to He Newell, pointing to a graph on his main screen. "The moray's energy matches exactly with Mars's magnetic field. They're not just living here. They're helping keep the whole planet alive." He Newell leaned closer to look at the readings. The lines on the screen moved up and down like peaceful waves on an ocean. "But how do they do it?" she asked. Sang-Min picked up a small crystal that had fallen from one of the sand formations. Under his microscope, it sparkled with tiny points of light. "These crystals are like nothing we've ever seen before," he explained. "They can store and release energy in perfect harmony with planetary magnetic fields." As they talked, the crystal in Sang-Min's hand began to glow softly. The nearby sand dunes responded, humming in a gentle tone that made both scientists feel peaceful and alert at the same time. "They're teaching us," Sang-Min said quietly. "Every time we study them, they show us something new." Through their dreams and shared visions, the moray had shown the team how they once traveled between planets. They were like doctors for worlds, using their special energy to help dying planets come back to life. When they found Mars, they decided to stay and protect it. But why Mars? He Newell wondered aloud. Why not go to a planet that still had oceans? As if in answer, the sand near the window began to move. It formed shapes that looked like DNA strands, then changed to show planets spinning around stars. The message was clear. Mars had the potential for new life, and the moray wanted to protect that potential. Sang-Min worked late into the night, writing his report for Earth Control. He explained how the moray's energy could be used to help bring Mars back to life. Their crystals could help strengthen the planet's magnetic field, which would protect any atmosphere they tried to create. "If we work together with the moray," he wrote, "we might be able to make Mars into a new home for humans much sooner than we thought. They've been keeping this planet ready for us all along." The next morning, Sang-Min showed his findings to the whole team. He used simple drawings to explain how the moray's energy worked with planetary magnetic fields. Everyone listened carefully, even Tae-Yang, who usually found physics boring. "Think of it like this," Sang-min said, drawing on his tablet. "The Moray are like a blanket keeping Mars warm from the inside. Without them, the planet's core would have cooled down long ago. But they've kept it warm, waiting for the right time." As he spoke, the sand outside formed the same shapes he was drawing, as if the Moray were helping him teach. The humming grew stronger, and everyone felt that warm, peaceful feeling that now meant the Moray were happy. "They're not just ancient beings we discovered," Sang-min concluded. "They're the key to making Mars live again. And they want to help us do it." That evening, as the sun set behind the red hills, Sang-min watched the sand dunes glowing with their inner light. He thought about all the years humans had spent dreaming about living on Mars. The Moray had been dreaming too, waiting for the day when both species could work together to wake this sleeping planet. Doo-hee-ba stood in the control room of the Mars research station, watching her computer screens with growing excitement. As the station's research analyst, she had noticed something remarkable in the data patterns. "The Moray are waking up," she told her colleagues, pointing to a map of the Martian surface. "Not just here, but all across the planet. Look at these energy readings." The map showed bright spots of light appearing in different places. Each spot meant another group of Moray was awakening from their long sleep. The humming sound that everyone had grown used to was getting stronger and clearer. Hanul walked over to look at Doo-hee's screens. "But why now?" she asked. "Why are they all waking up at the same time?" Doo-hee smiled and brought up another set of readings. "I think I know why," she said. "See these patterns? They match the electronic signals from our equipment perfectly. Our machines are making vibrations that blend with the Moray's natural energy. It's like we're playing music they want to dance to." Outside the station windows, the sand dunes were alive with movement. Crystal formations rose from the ground like gentle fountains, catching the sunlight and sending rainbow colors across the Martian landscape. The sight was so beautiful that several team members stopped their work to watch. "They're not just waking up because of our noise," Doo-hee explained. "They're waking up because we're here. Our technology, our presence, it all fits with their energy in a way they like. We're not disturbing their sleep. We're giving them a reason to wake up." As she spoke, new data appeared on her screens. More Moray were awakening near other human research stations on Mars. Each group of Moray had slightly different patterns in their crystal structures, like families with their own special traits. The team spent the whole day recording and studying the awakening. Through their dreams and the images the Moray shared, they learned that this was the first time in thousands of years that so many dream keepers had been awake at once. "It's like a celebration," Mayray said, watching the sand formations dance. "They're happy to be awake, and they're happy we're here to see it." That night, something even more amazing happened. The Moray began to sing together, their humming joining in perfect harmony. The sound traveled through the ground and air, not loud but deep and peaceful. Even the people who couldn't usually feel the Moray's presence could hear this song. Doo-hee stayed up late, recording everything. Her readings showed that the Moray's combined energy was making Mars's magnetic field stronger. The planet itself seemed to be responding to their song, its core growing slightly warmer. "They're not just waking up," she wrote in her report. "They're working together to help Mars come alive again. And they've been waiting for us to help them do it." As the Martian moons crossed the night sky, Doo-hee thought about how amazing it was. Humans had come to Mars hoping to change it, to make it more like Earth. Instead, they had found ancient friends who had been protecting Mars all along, waiting for the right moment to help it transform. The awakening of the Moray wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. Together, humans and dream keepers would help Mars remember how to live again. Project Director Sun Woo-nam called an important meeting at the Mars Research Station. All the screens in the conference room showed images of the awakening Moray across Mars. The sand beings had created beautiful crystal structures that sparkled under the Martian sun. "Earth Control has reviewed our reports," Sun Woo announced to the team. "They agree that working with the Moray could change everything about our Mars mission. Today, we start a new chapter in human history. Young engineer Yun Ho Shin sat at the back of the room, sketching designs in his notebook. He had been working on something special, machines that could work with the Morei's energy. He raised his hand to speak. "Director Nam," Yun Ho said, standing up with his tablet, "I think I know how we can help the Morei strengthen Mars's magnetic field. May I show everyone?" Sun Wu nodded, and Yun Ho connected his tablet to the main screen. His drawing showed devices that looked like tall crystal towers. "The Morei showed us how they channel their energy," he explained. "If we build these towers using their crystals and our technology, we can help them wake up more of the planet." The sand near the windows moved in excited patterns. The Morei were watching the meeting, and they seemed happy with Yun Ho's ideas. The familiar warm humming filled the room. "The Morei have been protecting Mars for thousands of years," Sun Wu said. "Now it's our turn to help them. Dr. Kang, what do you think about Yun Ho's design?" Sang-min studied the drawings carefully. "These could work," he said. "The towers would be like signal boosters for the Morei's energy. They could help reach deeper into Mars' core." The team spent the next few days planning their first tower. Yun Ho worked with Hae Newell and the Morei to get the crystal structures just right. The sand beings helped by showing them which crystals held the most energy. "It's amazing," Yun Ho said as they worked. "The Morei understand our technology so quickly. It's like they've been waiting to work with us all along." When the first tower was ready, everyone gathered to watch it turn on. The crystal structure rose 15 meters into the Martian sky. Yun Ho checked all the connections one last time, then looked at Sun Wu for permission to start. "Let's make history," Sun Wu said with a smile. Yun Ho pressed the activation button. The crystals in the tower began to glow with a soft blue light. The Morei responded immediately, their sand formations moving in waves toward the tower. As their energy connected with the machine, the light grew stronger. Doohee watched her instruments with growing excitement. "The magnetic field readings are climbing," she reported. "The Morei's energy is flowing through the tower perfectly." The team cheered as the tower's light reached high into the Martian sky. Through their shared dreams, the Morei showed them images of Mars' core growing warmer, of the magnetic field strengthening, of a future where the red planet could live again. "This is just the beginning," Sun Wu told his team as they watched the tower work with the Morei. "Together, we're going to help Mars wake up from its long sleep." That evening, as the tower glowed against the sunset, Yun Ho sat with his notebook, already designing improvements. The Morei's humming was stronger now, full of hope and purpose. Humans and dream keepers had started their greatest project together, bringing new life to an ancient world. 3 months had passed since the first energy tower was built. Now, 20 towers stood across Mars' surface, each one working with the Morei to strengthen the planet's core. Dr. Hae Newell Kim watched from the observatory as the morning sun rose over a changing world. The air pressure on Mars was slowly increasing. It wasn't enough to breathe without suits yet, but the instruments showed clear changes. The Morei's energy, combined with the towers, was doing more than anyone had expected. "Dr. Kim, you need to see this," called Myray from her communication station. "The atmospheric sensors are picking up something new." Hanul walked over to Miray's screen. The reading showed waves of energy moving through Mars' thin atmosphere. The patterns matched the Morei's musical humming perfectly. "They're creating a symphony," Myray explained, her eyes bright with wonder. "All the Morei across the planet are singing together. Their energy is dancing with our tower's signals." Outside, the sand dunes moved in beautiful patterns. Crystal formations grew and changed like slow-motion flowers blooming. The Morei had taught them that these crystals helped clean the atmosphere, turning harmful gases into useful ones. Sang-min rushed into the room, holding his tablet. "The core temperature is rising exactly as planned," he said excitedly. "The magnetic field is getting stronger every day." But that's not the amazing part. He paused, catching his breath. "Look at the sky tonight. The Moray say we'll see something that hasn't happened on Mars in millions of years. That evening, the entire research team gathered in the observation dome. The sun had set, leaving the Martian sky dark except for the stars and two moons. The crystal towers glowed with soft blue light, and the sand dunes hummed their eternal song. Then it happened. Green and blue lights began to dance across the night sky. They moved like ribbons in the wind, growing brighter and more colorful with each passing minute. The first Martian aurora in millions of years, Newell whispered. The magnetic field is strong enough to make the solar winds visible again. Through their shared dreams, the Moray showed them what these lights meant. The aurora was like the planet's heartbeat becoming visible. It meant Mars was remembering how to protect itself, how to hold onto its atmosphere, how to live again. Doohey's instruments recorded everything. The combination of human technology and Moray energy was working better than anyone had hoped. The towers acted like acupuncture needles, helping Mars's energy flow properly again. Earth Control won't believe these readings, she said, sharing her screen with the others. The atmospheric pressure has increased 10% faster than our best predictions. The aurora continued late into the night. Its colors reflected off the crystal towers and the Moray's sand formations, making the whole landscape glow with magical light. The humming of the Moray grew stronger and more joyful, like a celebration song. "They're happy," Mayray said, translating the feelings the Moray were sharing. "They say Mars is dancing again, like it did when they first arrived here long ago." Newell looked at her team members' faces in the multicolored light. Everyone wore the same expression of wonder and hope. They were watching Mars take its first steps toward becoming a living world again. "This is just the beginning," she said softly. "The Moray song is waking up the whole planet." 1 year had passed since the first contact with the Moray. Dr. Newell Kim stood on top of a small hill, watching the sunrise paint the Martian sky in beautiful colors. The morning light sparkled on hundreds of crystal towers that now dotted the landscape. Each tower worked with the Moray to heal the sleeping planet. The changes in Mars were clear to see. Small patches of green moss, specially designed to grow in the thin Martian air, now covered parts of the ground near the research station. The moss worked together with the Moray's crystals to produce more oxygen, just as Earth Control had hoped. Newell checked the readings on her suit display. The air pressure had doubled in the past year. It would take many more years before humans could breathe the Martian air, but the progress was faster than anyone had expected. "Good morning, Dr. Kim," called a voice through her radio. It was Eun-ho, walking up the hill to join her. "The Moray wanted me to show you something special today." The sand near their feet began to move, forming familiar patterns. Over the past year, the research team had learned to read these patterns like a language. This one meant the Moray had discovered something new and exciting. They found more ancient knowledge in their shared memories, Eun-ho explained. "They want to teach us about stellar engineering, how to work with the energy of stars." Through their dreams that night, the Moray shared visions of incredible technologies. They showed the humans how to build machines that could gather solar energy more efficiently than anything on Earth. The Moray's crystal technology could help humanity reach other stars someday. Back at the research station, the team gathered for their morning meeting. The station had grown larger over the past year. New buildings housed scientists and engineers from all over Earth, each one learning from the Moray's ancient wisdom. "The Dreamkeepers have changed everything we thought we knew about space travel," Sunwoo told the team. "But more importantly, they've shown us how to be better caretakers of our planets." Outside the station windows, young Moray crystals grew from the sand. The new generation of Dreamkeepers looked different from their ancestors. Their crystals had patterns that matched the human-built towers, showing how both species were learning from each other. Mayray, who had become the lead translator for the Moray, shared the latest news. "They say more of their kind are awakening deep under Mars' surface," she said. "The planet's core is getting warmer, and the magnetic field grows stronger each day." That evening, Hey Newell walked alone to her favorite spot near the first energy tower. The setting sun turned the sky shades of pink and gold. Far above, satellites tracked the growing atmosphere of Mars. Soon, the first clouds would form, another step toward bringing the planet back to life. The mora's humming was everywhere now, a peaceful song that had become part of daily life on Mars. Their crystal formations rose like gentle mountains across the landscape, each one helping to transform the red planet into a new home for both species. As darkness fell, the Martian auroras began their nightly dance. Hey Newell remembered the first time they had seen these lights just 1 year ago. Now they were brighter, fuller of color, a sign that Mars was growing stronger every day. "We did it together," she whispered to the moray, whose sand patterns swirled gently around her feet. Humans and dream keepers working as one to wake up this sleeping world. The moray's response came as a warm feeling of agreement and hope. The future they had dreamed of for so long was finally beginning. Mars would live again, and its story would be one of peace, cooperation, and the power of two very different species learning to help each other grow.